in the commentary box. The drivers are ready as well. And here is how the grid will line up for the final time in 2024. 12 teams ready to take to the field, and it's Honda on pole position. Shota Nematane, the man who will lead their chance at the start. Saya Suzuki on the front row of the grid as well. Then Team Porsche with Benjamin Hexe for company on the second row, and Lexus with Kanata Kawakami alongside. Adriano Corazza will take along for Toyota later on, with Yamanaka starting this race. Subaru with Helena Stroza also at the wheel. Genesis line up 7th with Dean Helm starting this charge for them. Jun Hashima for Ferrari lines up P8. 9th position, Yusuke Goto for Chevrolet. 10th is Mercedes-AMG with Guy Barbara starting their charge. Then it's Audi and Daniel Penko, the Spaniards. And Mazda completing the 12-driver strong field with Robbie Heck. Now, the only dry compound tyre that the teams have are the medium compounds. And as the track is dry, they are all starting on the mediums here, Jimmy. Now, it's a rolling start, so we shouldn't expect any dramas down towards the first corner. But up the rise through Rouge and Radion, and there's a good chance of some overtakes.
It's dark and foreboding here at Spa at the moment. You can see the grey skies. I mean, I think we know what's coming at some point, but when do our drivers, what do you do with that strategy? All starting on mediums for now. Honda leading the way here at Spa for the grand final. Will they still be there come the end of the race?
Well, who is going to be crowned as the Manufacturers' Cup champion of the 2024 season? We're about to find out in 20 laps as the grand final here in Amsterdam gets underway. Honda leading the field across the timeline. We are ready to go racing for one more time this season and crown our world champions here at Spa. Honda lead the field down towards the first corner, and already a flash of rain looks like it's beginning to start in these early stages. BMW, Porsche, Lexus leading them down towards the first turn. Out of La Source, up through Eau Rouge and Radion, and on the run to the Camel Straight and into Les Combes is where we'll see the slipstream coming into effect. And of course, for Nematane, the man who's leading the charge, he does not have that hole being punched in the air in front of him, so he may be under a bit of pressure in the early stages. You can already see a little bit of water on the racing line on the circuit, so let's see how this one works out. Here come BMW against Honda. Up the Camel Straight we go into Les Combes, and Suzuki takes over the lead in the early stages at the front.
Yeah, I mean, easy there. Porsche also looking at the inside. Big lunge there by Team Porsche, knocking Honda off early, returning the favour. Oh, Team Honda, big slap there. I think that's Gallo, Nematane at the wheel there of that Honda. I mean, all fair and love and war, but I'm not sure the stewards will agree with that one.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. That's what you've got to remember in this race. You can't win it on the first lap, but you can certainly lose it. Toyota getting into the back of Porsche there, and also in turn pushing Honda a little bit wide. It's aggressive, it's feisty. Honda now side by side with Toyota through X as well. Toyota with no room. Genesis trying to find their way through. They've got momentum. This is scrappy here, lads, in the opening lap of this one. Genesis now side by side with Toyota down through Pouon. 2x2 through there is a little bit brave. Toyota managed to get the better of Genesis, or do they? Because they still run side by side on the exit. That's going to shuffle them out and allow Subaru to come back through and try and challenge them for position, and do so. So Toyota, the big losers on the opening lap, they've lost 2 places from where they started.
Yeah, massive start there, but Dean Hout in the Genesis car really getting his elbows out early doors. I mean, Dean's definitely that sort of driver. He'll make the move if he needs to, but then understeering through the first step, though, that allows Team Subaru to try and get into such an Innestroza in the car for them at the moment. But that's a small gap now opening up between first, second, third and fourth, and that second back in fifth backwards. But at the front, Team BMW have just bolted away at the moment. Suzuki at the wheel, we know how quick he is in that BMW, and just showing it there, taking the place early, and he's just cleared off.
So Honda, not particularly brilliant start to their race. Let's have a look at what happened here with this overtake then down into Les Combes. On the outside here of BMW, now Honda, keep an eye out for Porsche behind, because they're going to come through stage right. Up the inside they go, which is Honda a little bit wide. They go on to the run-off, returning the favour. Porsche get muscled out there as well. And like candy from a baby, Lexus go through and up into second as well.
I think the move from Porsche is a little bit optimistic. I mean, you've got to go for it, of course, but then that rejoin from the Honda, I don't know if it's because they just hit a bit of AstroTurf and the car didn't grip, but it looked like just slid sideways onto the back of the course and collecting Porsche on the way through. So, I mean, sometimes I think the stewards just go, well, listen, you're as bad as each other, deal with it, and then no further action. But I've not even seen them investigating it, so...
No, it seems like it's indeed a racing incident, because as you said, there's been nothing flashing up on our timing screens. Up we go in towards Les Combes. Porsche sitting there in third place and not close enough to mount a challenge to Lexus at the moment. Benjamin Exe behind the wheel of that car, the Hungarian driver who was made an emphatic debut earlier on this year. If you remember back to World Series 2 in Prague, challenged for the victory right up until the final corner. And I dare say if that track had been a couple of 100 metres longer, he would have been on the top 7 of the pack. It all came down to tyres in mixed conditions. So let's see whether they can repeat that feat here tonight. Genesis versus Subaru, Ferrari and also Chevrolet. Look at this. How do you throw the over needle? Ferrari going to outbrake themselves to go straight off into the Ardennes. Chevrolet left to pick up the pieces there. Well, and somehow Genesis and Subaru managed to emerge without any problems as Mazda picked up a 1 second penalty.
I love the Ferrari there, where they were heroes for approximately a second. And then just completely off they go. But Levertani in the Honda there, just about clinging on inside that top 4 at the moment to the back of Porsche. BMW is still there with Suzuki. I mean, gradually, very slowly putting away from the cars behind. Just seems to have that little bit more speed in these early stages. But it's a team game. They're only on lap 2 of 20, and each team still has 2 drivers yet to go. So it's far from over, but BMW, your early leaders.
So Subaru there in the rear tracks of Genesis. I mean, that's good for them because it'll help them with their straight line speed deficit that they've been struggling with as Mazda just drops down after that penalty to last position in this one. Angel Stroza behind the wheel of that Subaru. A Porsche man for many years. If you remember back to the World Tour, as it was named there, back in 2019, he burst onto the scene by taking victory for Team Porsche at the World Series, the World Tour event in Tokyo. And we'll be keen to see what is going to happen here for the team of Subaru, sitting in 6th position at the moment. So BMW lead them 1.7 seconds back are Team Lexus at the moment. Toyota there in 7th place as well, and Mercedes-AMG not too far adrift there either. It's all pretty calm as it stands for now between these drivers. We'll be keen to see what's going to happen and how this is going to work out. So up the rise we go on the Camel Straight. You see Subaru there. Toyota in front at the moment. In towards Lake Coombe we go. Well, close up in front there as well between Genesis and Honda. That's an exchange for position, and Honda being muscled to the outside here, and Toyota and Subaru ready to take profit as Honda are left down in the doldrums, going through into the right-hander of turn 7. Subaru going to get shuffled onto the curb on the outside here, down in towards turn 8. We're going to go on the inside for Honda. Mercedes are ready there to try and take advantage. Subaru going to get it hung out to dry, but the track will come back to them. Are they going to be able to hold on to 7th place? Oh, onto the grass! They just about managed to keep it facing in the right direction. Great recovery there from Angel Stroza, because that could have been quite messy, but a very busy couple of corners.
These guys are going hard. I mean, it's early doors, yeah, and everyone's acting like it's the last couple of laps of the race, but really, really aggressive so far. So far, the guy at Barbara's done a great job in this Merc AMG. He's up 3 places. I mean, we saw him earlier on in the Toyota GT Racing Cup. He was very good at siming through the field early doors. I've got to say, it's been a bit of a, he's been good today, but that's not going to make him very popular. Running into the back of the Honda in front. And a little word maybe out under the breath of Guy Barbara there as we go up now towards Blanchimont very fast. He's got the draft on Honda and Navartani, but what an awful start for Team Honda. Down 5 places, maybe even 6 here as AMD looks up the inside, not quite enough space to do that now, I don't think.
Yeah, up the inside through to Blanchimont, you need to be having a willing dancing partner, or you need to be comfortable having your Christmas dinner through a straw. Going in towards the bus stop chicane we go. Is Guy Barbara going to have a lunch to the inside? Thinks better of it, and he's got to keep an eye on behind him. Whoa! A door open very late there between Honda and Mercedes. Mercedes now on the outside. Chevy are going to join the party. 2 for the price of 1. As Honda get muscled out down as well. 3 abreast down the top, finish straight. So Subaru in the mix there as well. Honda shuffled down to 10th. On the inside is Subaru. On the outside there you've got Mercedes as well as Ferrari. Again still 3 abreast on the exit of La Source. Ferrari shuffled out onto the curb, onto the outside. It is kicking off dramatically here, and I wonder whether the teams, the drivers, are just thinking about the fact the rain's coming in and they've got to try and make up as much progress as they can because of the strategy changes that are going to be involved in this race.
And Gotto there for Chevrolet just went, oh thanks, I'll take those. And just took like 3 places there and all that melee. So yeah, crazy in the midfield right now. Everyone desperately vying for position, but of course you don't want to be fighting too much in these early stages because otherwise you might lose ground to the leaders. And again, there's some contact in the background. Ferrari, I think, coming to blows with Team Honda. Nabatani has had an awful first stint, down 8 places. What is wrong with Nabatani?
You're making it sound like top of the pops here, Jimmy. Down 8 places,
down
up 2 places.
I know it's gone, it's out there, but that team is our biggest loser so far.
Yeah, it's not been good, has it, at all for Nabatani? And the problem is that then means it's going to be an uphill struggle from that point on for his teammates, Matteo Estevez and Valerio Gallo. They're going to have a lot of work to do, and of course we know the weather is going to be closing in before long.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to get very tricky, very, very quickly. That's a great part about these GT live events. Don't make it easy for our drivers. We know they're some of the best Gran Turismo drivers in the world. As you look at that clown, my God! You just see that. I mean, yep, it's over, boys. It's coming.
You've cue the Jaws music, haven't you? Because you know it's an inevitability, and the thing is as well, I suppose some of the teams are thinking about and will have had to have the difficult discussions of who's quicker when it gets wet, because some drivers are really dry, some are tricky in mixed conditions. Let's have a look here at Toyota. This is in front with Honda and Genesis. Oh, look at that! Toyota just the seas parting for them. Beautiful.
That's how you do it. That's how you get those places made. But that's part of being a driver here, is you have to be able to see those moves happening. You have to be able to understand that these things unfolded in front of you and how to react to them. But to go back to your point, Tom, about the drivers having that conversation, I mean, part of being a team player here is knowing your strengths, knowing your weaknesses, and being honest with your team, because you can't perform at your best if you aren't performing well and playing to your strengths. There is whoever. Oh, look at that! Here it comes.
And you can see it's going to be coming in a fairly heavy intensity as well, because it's going sort of what's that? South. I've never reached shredded. Wait, hang on a minute.
Northeast.
Northeast. There you go.
Mate.
I know. Geography was never my strong point. Yeah, can you tell? Anyway, it's coming in northeast, and you can see it's coming in a fair old intensity as well, and it's going to hit where's at the bottom of the circuit first, so sort of Lake Coombe area and down through the Stavolo corners. That's where the rain's going to start to hit, but depends on the sort of intensity. You can see if the checkered flag fell now here on lap 5. That's what the points rankings would look like, but there's a lot of time for things to change, and that of course depends on the fact if Lexus finish in second. If they get dropped down to third place, well, it could be BMW that take this crown.
Yeah, I mean, all can change. We've still got a very long way to go in this race. Honda there holding on for dear life, whereas Ferrari and Subaru team radio here. It's Team Subaru. Team Subaru there saying one more lap. Then on to another set of mediums, I guess.
Yeah, well, there's no sign of the rains here yet, as we saw from the weather radar, so that's the only logical option. You can't go out on intermediate tyres on a bone-dry track, can you? Otherwise that would be, well, it would be daft, wouldn't it, really, if you think about it. We'll wait and see what's going to happen, though, with that weather and how quickly it's going to come in.
I feel like you'd wait, though, you know, if you could see that, because they've all got access to the same weather radar we do, would you not wait?
Well, that would be the logical thing, unless they're trying to throw a dummy and play a bluff. Let's have a listen. That'll be Genesis then in 5th place, saying they're catching BMW. So either way, that is Dean Hell, who we saw has been getting his elbows out in the opening stages of this race.
But you can see that they're looking at the big picture. You know, they're only in 5th right now. They're not looking at 5th, they're looking at BMW. Go, right, they're the leaders. We are catching them, which means that we're going to be, you know, we're some of the quickest on the circuit. Let's just keep that up. Let's just keep moving forward. As we watch Team Lexus go into the bus stop again, followed by Porsche, Toyota, Genesis. That rain getting ever closer as we get further into this race. And again, the teams all have this information. So the guys who are back on there, I say the pit wall, in the lofty seats of our Theatre Amsterdam at the front row there, just giving that advice to their teammates. And Porsche, where's that come from?
Penalty for colliding with another car. Is that an incident that we haven't seen on screen? Because they're not particularly close to anybody at this moment, unless they had it coming together with Lexus that we didn't see about. It could have been for earlier on in the race. Now Subaru and Mazda in the box at the end of lap 6, but we know that weather's coming in now. Which way are they going to play it, and who are they going to change over driver-wise to as well? So onto the wet tyres, Subaru, on a track where it's not even raining at the moment. So they're trying to get them ahead of the curve, essentially. Innistroza out of the car. Into the car goes Kylian Drummond. Heck out of Mazda. Euro in the Mazda. They've gone for a differentiation in strategy here. Mazda going onto the intermediate tyres. Subaru going onto the extreme wet tyres. The rain not even arrived at this point. That is a bold call at this stage. Oh, it has arrived. Look at the wipers on.
There is some rain, but I just think, especially for Subaru, it's far too early for the wet tyres. Surely, we're saying that. Look how the rain is now coming out of the X corners to go down towards board. Suzuki there in the rain was coming down the roof of the car there. That seems any really deviation in line. Still giving it, you know, the full beams at the moment, but it is going to get to the point soon when the track grip does start to reduce. And of course, once you lose the heat, it's over, basically. So what you're trying to do now is just keep pushing, keep the heat in the tyres. I'm sure we'll see him box in at the end of this lap, but I just think going for the wets and the intermediates, you've just lost about a lap of dry pace from that, which is not the way.
Well, let's see how this plays out. Mazda have got the better of Subaru on the intermediate tyres. The rain is at its heaviest over this point of the circuit. In terms of the weather radar, we can see from our commentary box it is going to be absolutely tipping down over the course of the whole track. Very, very dark clouds. Look at that. So anyone who's on the slick tyres, they now have to come in. Look at how quickly the complexion of this race has changed as the rain has come down very, very suddenly. And those who are on the slick tyres are going to have to come into the box. But are those who pitted early, Mazda and Subaru, going to be able to take benefit of that early stop? I don't think they are, because the pace, though it's going to be a bit slower, I don't think it's extremely slow. It's not like they're tiptoeing around, is it?
No, I mean, they seem to be at a decent pace coming in. But now's the real question. Do you go for intermediates or do you go for a full wet tyre? I mean, the idea is you try and skip the intermediates if you can, just to make, if you are going from one extreme to the other. Let's see. All our drivers coming now, every team in. Unsurprisingly, as the rain comes down, you can see now the trails in the pit lane. Waiting for our first cars to come over. Here is Team BMW, our leaders. Now, what do? This is crucial for their race. They go on to the wet compound tyre. Full wet there for BMW and Lexus. Do Porsche and Toyota follow suit? They don't. The Bouteille in for Team BMW. He spoke to Super GT Steve Brown earlier. He said that Bouteille one of the fastest drivers in that BMW. Now, here are Team Mazda, Team Subaru. They opted to pit earlier, but they're miles away. Absolutely miles away.
It was a bold gamble. I didn't think it was going to be one that particularly paid off. I'll tell you what is interesting is you've got a right mixture of tyres here at the moment. Some have gone on to intermediate, some have gone on to wet, and the problem is it's moving quite quickly, this weather at the moment. It's sort of going from a light blue on our weather radar to a dark blue to a light blue again very quickly, and dark blue means it's heavy rain, light blue means it's light rain. So this is going to be hugely interesting. Of course, different drivers now in the car for the most part as well. So Labusle's behind the wheel of the BMW. Lopez now in for Lexus. Mosso in for Team Porsche as well. Serrano in for Toyota. Yuto Sasaki in for Genesis inside the top 5 as it stands for now. The top 2 on the wet tyres. Likewise, Genesis and Chevrolet. Porsche and Toyota sticking with the intermediate tyres then at this stage in the race. And only time is going to tell if this is going to be a gamble that will pay off. We'll have to look at the sector and the lap times.
Keep you updated, of course. We'll have a little while before we know which is quickest. Coque Lopez now in the car for Team Lexus. Man, this guy, what a veteran of Gran Turismo. He's won pretty much everything, so he knows how to win a race here at Spa in the Group 3 cars. And we'll be keeping an eye on some of the crossover times. Let's have a look. So we think that at this point, the best tire to be on, if you're doing 2 minute 30 lap time plus, is a heavy wet intermediate. It's about a 224 to 230, and after the racing mediums, anything under a 224, you should be on that slick compound tyre. They're definitely slower than that right now on Team Toyota, and the rain already seems to have sort of let up a little bit. It's not quite as dark as it was before, but still coming down through this second sector. Now we go tough spot here. Team Porsche taking that wet line, getting off that rubber and onto the curb on exit. Little one usually be there, but Team Toyota about there. Jose Serrano, Team Toyota going up the hill, and looks like Lexus, Coque Lopez is bringing that gap down to BMW in front.
Closing up like a freight train on Porsche and lunging to the inside, down at the bus stop, side by side. Porsche are going to give this one up too easy, and Toyota have to set up a second one. Exit of the corner, coming out of the final turn we go then for Porsche, and they do manage to hold on to third place for now, but Toyota having a look on the inside, maybe into the source, but Porsche parking it on the apex and holding firm for the time being. Now a look at the lap times. Wet tyres for BMW and for Lexus, 236.3, 235.2. Porsche and Toyota about the same. There's not much difference, is there?
I think the Inter is maybe slightly quicker, but only slightly at this point. And we look at Toyota and Porsche. Lexus also closing up on Team BMW. You have to think it's probably going to be it now for Team Porsche and Toyota. Porsche going to have to go to the inside line. Serrano's going to have to go the long way around the outside. But you might want to do that really if it's the where that straight line speed of a Supra, proving that it doesn't even need to matter what line is on. Drive straight by that Porsche in a straight line, and up to third place go Team Toyota. Great move there from Jose Serrano. Now can he latch on to the top two. The gap is about 4 seconds between him and Coque Lopez, his fellow countryman, in that Lexus. So he's got a bit of a gap to bring down there, but let's see if that intermediate tyre is the one to do it on.
Ferrari have picked up a penalty as well. Down in ninth place, Mohamed Medina now behind the wheel of that car. It's not been a particularly fortuitous day for them, and likewise Honda still struggling to make an impression after a quite difficult start to their race. After being on pole position, they've dropped down into 8th position. They're now on the wet tyres, whereas everybody else around them is on the intermediate, and if the track gets wetter, they're okay. If it gets drier, they've had it, really. We'll wait and see.
You say that, weather radar, which we'll try and show you guys very shortly, is we're coming to a heavier bout of rain again across the circuit. So if you are on those intermediate tyres, it's about to get a bit more sketchy for you. For the wet tyre runners, maybe the right choice to be on that tyre at this time. But it's so hard to choose. Looks like Jones has actually fallen off the back a little bit. Lost a second and a bit in that middle sector.
These intermediate tyres are going to be coming to the end of their life now here, aren't they? Look at this, Porsche struggling, Toyota struggling, Genesis on the extreme wet tyres. This is going to be easy because you don't need a car with an engine, you need a boat with 2 oars out there at the moment here at Spa-Francorchamps. Genesis now versus Porsche, and surely this is going to be a formality as we head into the next braking zone of the bus stop. You've got to go one at a time into Blanchimont, or can Genesis take that advantage? Well, they certainly think about it, and they're being slowed up by Porsche here as we head through there, but Porsche are going to surely run it wide. Neck will play a little bit off line as Genesis then do go now through and into 4th position. Next target is Toyota as the rain buckets down here at Spa-Francorchamps.
Yeah, it really is getting tricky out there now. Team radio. That's definitely Genesis, I can tell there straight away, and that was aggression. Through they go. They need that. They need to be pushing now. And look at this. The fight for the lead is closed right up. Coque Lopez is now right on the back of Thomas Abutale in that BMW. Coque Lopez on a charge right now, on board now with the Spanish driver in that Lexus RCF up Eau Rouge to the top now. Through Radion, and we're now just into the draft of the car in front. Do we go for a move here? We latch onto the back of the team BMW deep into the slipstream. Let's see the racing line differs still on the draft. Will Coque Lopez go through his balls out to the left, then ducks back inside, dummies him, takes the place, goes up into first and holds the BMW's contact, and they're both off into the grass there. Same thing happened earlier on, Tom. We just got onto the AstroTurf, and there's no grip out there. Just slides back onto the circuit.
It's so hard to hold the line when you've got a lack of adhesion when the rain is coming down in the intensity. It's starting to ease off a little bit again. It was heavy for just a minute or so, and that favoured the wet weather runners. But if the track again dries out, if the rain gets lighter, and according to our weather radar that we can see the correspondence, it looks like it's going to for a little while. So that could bring the intermediate runners now back into play in a lap or so's time.
Genesis up to P3 in the background too, so they're the P3 in the background too, so they're really making the most of this wet compound tyre. Here's a replay of what happened there. So we're on board with the Lexus just on the roof cap here. Great move by Coque Lopez. Splitsers can't be inside, he's got it there. Then just a tiny bit of contact. The BMW goes off onto the AstroTurf. It's not really those things where it's like, okay, it's his fault. When he's out there, I think there's no grip. There's zero grip, so he just slides back onto the circuit. So he does keep the position, which I'm sure Coque Lopez won't be too happy with.
No, the thing is, while they're squabbling amongst one another, they've got to bear in mind the fact that that gap to Genesis is going to be closing. I know it's about 7 seconds there and thereabouts at the moment, but if they have another couple of corners like that, that could easily be halved in a matter of moments, can't it?
Both of them really on the edge of grip right now, just trying to get that traction down. And again, Coque Lopez smells blood in the water all over the back of that BMW, coming up now towards Blanchimont. Very, very fast left-hander. See, just a little bit more confidence, I'd say, from Coque Lopez behind. Will he ever go into the bus stop? He likes the heavy lane braking zone. Does Coque Lopez? He does. Lunges up the inside. Will he get it stopped in time? No. Straight on goes Coque Lopez, but he's got the inside for this left-hander. Just about had the door shut there by Thomas Abutale. What a battle here for first place, and the crowd love it.
Absolutely amazing. Amazing. We're at the halfway stage now here of this race, and the top two are knocking 7 bells out of one another. If Coque Lopez had misjudged that, been a couple of metres later on the brakes, that would have gone down like a knackered lift. Fortunately, they managed to keep it facing in the right direction. BMW then lead by 0.3 of a second over Lexus at the moment, but Genesis closing the gap now. It was 7 seconds and just a lap or so ago. It's now down to just over 6 seconds.
Man, what a show these guys are putting on for our audience here at Amsterdam. The grand final, of course, of the Manufacturers' Cup. We're halfway through the race now. BMW and Lexus so far are your headlines. Back on board with Coque Lopez. He fancies another go in. This time he's going to try the outside up towards Lake on. They're side by side. Not getting much grip out there. He's on the curb. Is he going to make it stick? He goes all the way around the outside. Coque Lopez and Team Lexus up into first place. And now I think, Tom, we're going to see Lexus and Coque Lopez just put the hammer down and try and extend that gap.
Well, let's not forget that the Lexus team won the Manufacturers' Cup inaugural one back in 2018, and there is an opportunity for them to do that here tonight if they do take victory and clear off in the points tally. Just to go back to some of the intermediate shot runners, by the way, they're nowhere at the moment with the track being as well as it is. They're about 2 or 3 seconds off the pace of the wet weather runners, and that has really helped Subaru out in this middle stage of the race. They were down in last place just 3 laps ago. They've now brought themselves back up into 9th position, so they're slowly creeping their way back through the field. But I dare say, on the horizon there, Jimmy, looks like the clouds are easing off a bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Man, I love change of weather in a race. It just makes everything so much better, doesn't it? It really does. And Coque Lopez, again, we talk about the guy's experience. I mean, he's still in his 20s, but he's one of the most experienced drivers here at the moment, knows this game back to front, knows his car back to front, and just showing exactly what he's capable of when he's given a free track ahead. Already the gap up to nearly a second between Lexus and BMW, and you see really battling with traction there, but just skirting on the edge of grip and making it look easy as he does it. So your order right now, as we come to the end of lap 10, it's Team Lexus from BMW and Genesis in P3. So here's a replay between Porsche and Toyota. What happens here? Toyota looks to the outside. He just runs into the back of Porsche. Just spin. Masterful recovery, but AMG ladies there. Who's at the wheel of that right now? That's Kamata. No, sorry, that's not him. Sorry, my bad.
Behind the wheel of Mercedes is Daniel Benton.
Yeah, he just. Well, all right, well, like that.
Yeah.
Cheers, mate.
Lovely. Again, go. To see past it, that's the thing. Keeping your car on the straight and narrow, not getting involved in any bother, it could prove to be very beneficial. You can see, meanwhile, Chevrolet have closed up onto the back of Genesis here, 7/10 of a second, so they're within slipstreaming range. Behind the wheel of the Chevy at the moment is Antonio Santos, the Frenchman who's making his World Series debut here this weekend. And we'll see whether he is going to be able to ruffle a few feathers at the moment.
How's Chevy done that?
Team radio. Yeah. So let's see whether Chevrolet can depose Genesis down, and look at that, blue skies up ahead, so the rain beginning to ease off, and this might bring the intermediate shot runners back into play. But are we going to see wet drivers going on to intermediates, or are they just going to wait for the track to dry out and go on to slicks? That's a crucial point. More problems for Porsche as they spin off on the exit of Amelo, all of their own accord, and go tumbling down the order. What a shame for Artur Mosso.
They were... Oh man, Mosso's not happy, is he?
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. He certainly was not, Artur Mosso, and now down into last place. Well, very fine margins here in the GT World Series.
And what I was going to say, sorry, before we saw that replay there, is that is our second place, current second place in the standings.
Yeah.
Now, pretty much out of it.
That is it. We need to have a look at the live point standings, don't we, at the moment? Well, it's Lexus and BMW who are at the top of the pile. Lexus, by a comfortable margin, if the checker flag fell now, would be crowned as the champions. But there's still plenty of time for things to change. And as you saw there for Porsche, a couple of mistakes over the case of a couple of laps, and their race has turned completely on its head.
And we've only seen so far 2 of the 3 drivers from each team. So still a couple of drivers yet to go. This race could still change, as you say. And now it is still raining slightly, but you can see the water is starting to be dispersed there as Team Genesis really hanging out on that curve. You don't want to be there in the wet. It's very slippy out there.
Hello.
There is still, I mean, there's still rain due, but like, you can see the track isn't quite as wet as before. You wouldn't believe that though, as Genesis, man, all over the place. And then in comparison to Santos behind in that Corvette, the Chevy Corvette, just a lot more composed.
Yeah, the Chevrolet looking, as you say, just a little bit more stable at this particular point, but still right on the gearbox of the Genesis as we head through the Blanchimont corner. And Chevrolet now ahead of Genesis and up through into third place whilst we're looking at this battle a little bit further down. So I'll have to get a replay of that overtake for position, because now it is Antonio Santos in front of Yuito Sasaki then. Out of the final corner we go. And is Sasaki going to be able to repay the favour on the Chevy down in towards turn 1? Don't think they're going to be close fast enough at the moment. Well, Chevrolet have shown consistently similar pace to Genesis, in fact quicker pace over the last lap by about a second or so, as BMW pick up a warning for a collision. And look at this now, BMW back in front of Lexus. So Lopez, whether he made a mistake or something like that, I'm not 100% sure, but there must have been a smattering of contact between the two. It now means the Frenchman, Lebousley, behind the wheel of the BMW, is now back in the lead of the race.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. I mean, I'm not quite sure what happened there, as you say, but maybe a mistake, maybe Lebousley's tyres were just a bit of better nick, although looking at the... doesn't seem like that was the case. Interestingly, Tom, looking at the standings as well, the intermediate runners are starting to go a little bit quicker. Yeah, in fact, a bit quicker than the wet, sorry.
They've had to go through the sort of ugly stage in the middle of this one, haven't they, where they've not had the pace. But now, as you can see, the rain isn't really falling that much, if at all, to be honest with you. And that's when the intermediate shop runners, the race will begin to come back to them. But the crucial thing is, have they lost so much time? So let's have a look here what happened with BMW and Lexus. Into the source. Lexus a little bit deep on the brakes. BMW are going to get a good exit out of the source. Is there going to be contact side by side going up through into Eau Rouge and Radion? No, it was just a mistake there from Coque Lopez, which allowed Lebousley and the BM to go through and take the lead.
Just better traction out the corner, wasn't it? The BMW just picked up really nicely. The Lexus was just there, just left standing. But
Toyota got a penalty as well. Red dot flashing next to their name. So not been a particularly brilliant race so far for Jose Serrano. There he is in the background, a half-second penalty, so track limits violation. 1.5 seconds actually for Toyota. That's even worse. So they will not be retaining their crown if it stays as it is. Fenton going through into the Fagnes chicane and in towards Stavlo. You can see a bit of rear instability. He just kissed the white line. Wide there for Subaru and for Kilian Drumont as well. We know how fast that Subaru is in these mid-speed corners at this circuit of Spa-Francorchamps. And look at that, a possibility maybe of some blue sky coming in before the end of this race. The track will begin to dry out, and if it does dry out, who is going to be brave and bold enough to make the switch onto the dry tyres? AMG and Ferrari, meanwhile, pretty close to one another. Just a change of positions there as well between Mazda and Toyota. Team radio here. So dry time is later for Genesis. That's Yuito Sasaki, the voice that you were hearing a few minutes ago. So I think what they're going to try and do is stay out on the wet tyres. That's the problem, isn't it? The intermediate runners, they're kind of quits in here at the moment because they'll have more grip underneath them as the track begins to dry out, whereas the wet runners won't. But all have got to stay out really until the right time to switch over to dries.
And we can see just about weather radar on that left-hand side. That is the last of the rain. So we will probably have a drying, if not dry, circuit towards the end of this race. And this is where the intermediates are going to start to shine, and those wet tyres are going to start tearing themselves apart. I mean, the track is still in a condition where the wet or intermediate tyres are both viable, but we're going to see that Inter get quicker and quicker and quicker.
Certainly will. So through turn 7 we go. On board here then with Lexus, who got a face full of BMW for pretty much the majority of the last couple of laps. They were having a clear track in front of them, but for that mistake from Coque Lopez that we saw down at the source. Honda have got a penalty now then as well in 5th place. It has not been a race to remember, and unfortunately a possibility of victory looks to be slipping through their fingers quicker and quicker as the laps count down.
Tell you what, it's been a great middle stint from Santos, the French driver, his first time at one of these events, and he's taken that Chevrolet up to 3rd place for now, only 7 seconds behind this battle. I'm interested as Coque Lopez, it seems as he's got dry, he's starting to fall off a little bit. He seems to be a bit more comfortable in those low grip conditions, but now the grip's going back. Lebousley is back in the pound seat and just that little bit quicker.
Keep an eye out for AMG and Dan Fenton as well on the intermediate compound of tyre. Let's have a look here at him and Kilian Drumont in the Subaru. Coming in towards X corner then, through the left-hander. Is Drumont going to go onto the curb? And, just look at the traction, look at the drive that Fenton's got on that intermediate tyre. He's just in a steam past it down into Pouhon.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a bad race strategy-wise for Team Subaru, that's for sure. Definitely not gone their way. But again, there's still another driver yet to go. AMG Mercedes, Fenton there at the wheel, but he is the lead intermediate runner, he's going to be a great yardstick. And of course, all the teams are going to be watching that. BMW, Lexus, Corvette, Chevrolet, sorry, they're all going to be watching what happens there all the time. Wow, that is really coming down the charts now. 228 from the Boutelet on the BMW. We're now firmly in the window for those intermediates to be quick.
And that's the problem for the wet shod runners. So you can see the top four all on the wet tyres, but behind them, Daniel Fenton, team radio here.
Wow, big call.
So that's Sasaki and Hell to Genesis exchanging notes with one another in fourth place, and they're working out when is the best time to change over to the dry tyres. So there'll be a driver change. Sasaki will get out of the car. Nico Romero will be behind the wheel for what looks to be their closing stint in the race, and all they've got to do is try and find the right crossover point, and it could come to Genesis here, because the last thing these wet shod runners want to do is stay out too long, allow the inter runners to close up, and then they've lost the advantage that they gained in that middle stint.
Well, we thought that the crossover point for the racing medium tyres, which is what the guys have available for dry tyres, is a 224. We're not quite there yet.
But look at the intermediate runners, Jimmy, as well.
Wow, yeah.
Dan Fenton lost around 226.9. Wet shod runner nearest to him is Genesis, a 228.5.
A 225 from Porsche and Mosso. So I think you're right there. Sasaki was right. Get on there. And the thing is, all the rest of the teams are actually, look at that. Mercedes AMG Fenton, he's gained 1.3 seconds on Team Genesis. Genesis has been quick on this little stint, but the tyres now starting to definitely go the other way. So all the teams must know this right now. You see a lot of people standing behind rigs. Miyazono there watching on, getting ready to get in, I think. And this next lap is going to be pivotal for the race. Will they pit? Will they stay out? Let's find out.
Absolutely. Well, it's going to be busier in the pit lane than the supermarkets on Black Friday, isn't it, in a few moments' time, because there's going to be a lot of activity going on with drivers changing over, presumably all to the dry compound of tyres. The wet shod runners there, the hand is kind of tied behind their back at the moment. They've got no choice but to change over to that one. Otherwise, as I said, that advantage is just going to be washed away, so to speak. Mercedes closing up so fast.
I think you have to risk it. You have to risk the slip now. Yeah. I mean, because if you get caught napping, it's not worth just a couple of seconds. It's going to be 4 or 5 seconds. So let's see. Our first teams coming by the pit lane. Will they pit in? BMW and Lexus. What are they going to do? Our leaders have gone past pit lane. Have they come out? I don't see them.
No, Lexus aren't in. BMW aren't in. Genesis go in then. So they're deciding to take the gamble. They said they were going to go aggressive, and they are the first of the wet shod runners to blink at the start of lap 15. Subaru also following them through. Not surprised at all. Subaru and Honda under investigation a few moments ago for a collision. They've got nothing to lose at this particular point and everything to gain. Meanwhile, look at Mercedes now right on the gearbox of Chevrolet, and this is surely going to be a formality, a matter of time before the Mercedes muscles their way past the Chevy.
Yeah, Fenton was 3 seconds quicker that lap. That's how much the difference between the wet and intermediate right now. So he just needs to go past him, just drive by and try and make the best of this intermediate. So now we have our first teams risking the medium slick tyre. This is where it's going to get tricky, because that little dry line you can see we're driving on now, that's the only surface of the circuit which has any grip, and it's still greasy. It's not completely dry. So you see, even on the curves, look at the grip difference. It's crazy.
Unbelievable there for Dan Fenton in the Mercedes, and coming out of turn 7 down in towards Rivage of turn 8. He's going to drive around the outside. I thought he was thinking about that, but he's going to get held up for another couple of corners. But as I said, it's only a matter of time. We've seen moves being made through turn 9 of Ix with drivers on the wet tyres running wide, and the problem here for Fenton is he's just getting held up, and look at that, he's just waiting to get on the power. He needs to just steam past him here.
He's not being clever. He's driving right behind him. He's not giving himself the opportunity to have that overlap, to have that overtake. This should be it now. But he's just waiting. You've got to be aggressive now. He's lost so much time here. This is pivotal for Mercedes AMG and for Fenton, and he's just not getting the move done. It's a great defensive drive by Santos. He's just putting this car in the right spot, and Fenton can do nothing apart from wait again. He's just driving up to the back. He needs to give himself a slingshot.
Yeah, just needs a lunge, doesn't he, at the point? But look at Santos there, just parking the car on the apex. He's going to try and get the switchback here as Dan Fenton, but again goes onto the wet part of the track, and then he doesn't have the same grip underneath him that he needs, and that's the problem here. So this is really compromising Dan Fenton, and also Mercedes AMG's race here, and a possible podium could be slipping through the net, courtesy of the dramas that are being stuck behind Chevrolet here on lap 15. We'll wait and see how it all plays out, but we've got one more pit stop left to go, and surely now, if you're on the wet tyres, you've got to make that pit stop at the end of this lap. Otherwise, you're going to be up a creek without a paddle, so to speak. On the brakes we go into the final chicane. Chevrolet defending the line, and surely they're going to come into the box. Mercedes do as well, and that was a brilliant lap there from Antonio Santos for Chevrolet, and no surprise at all to see the last of our wet and intermediate shop runners into the box for their final stint.
If you want a class on defensive driving, that was it. That was a car that was 3 seconds a lap slower than the car behind it and managed to keep him there just by placing his car in the right point. Definitely round of applause there for Santos and Team Chevrolet. But now we get into the business end of this race. Everyone, and I mean everyone, coming into the pit lane to go over to that medium compound tyre. But you see Roach there, very slow on exit, just waiting to get up to speed. There you go, now on to the dry line. Where are those who went for the dry tyre first?
Well, Genesis were the first runners to come into the box, weren't they? So that'll be the proof of the pudding. They're up into third place. They'll have a bit more heat in their tyres as well. They'll be a little bit more worn later on, but look at that wide there for BMW, up through Eau Rouge and Radion for Callum Roach there, and that could leave them under pressure from Harold Velsen in the Lexus. He's got a great run coming up the Kemmel Straight and in towards Lake Combis. Velsen going to think about a move on the inside. The problem is that the wet line, or the dry line I should say rather, is so narrow that if you go off it, you're going to be going straight to the scene of the crash into Lake Combs, and they line astern, and that just gives Roach a little bit of breathing space to get those tyres up to the right working window.
So to give you an idea of that decision for Romero, it paid off or not, it did. They gained about 3.5–4 seconds there on the top two, which puts them in striking distance if anything happens in. If these guys start fighting, Roach at the wheel of that BMW is a very, very quick guy. If these guys fight, then they might end up being caught by Team Genesis, and that battle for the lead becomes a three-way fight. Although also AMG and Benelli in the background. Here are the life point standings. If things finish now, Lexus would be your champions by 1 point. That's all it is over BMW. Genesis third, AMG fourth, and Subaru up into fifth. But we still have 5 and a bit laps to go, or 4 and a bit laps to go on this race, and these are the tricky conditions where you're on that very narrow racing line, and when you go off things, and when you go off that line, it can all go wrong from there.
So yeah, Lexus and BMW team radio here. That's Genesis, isn't it, team radio?
Look at that gap top. It's come down again. It's 2.3 seconds now. Genesis are on a flyer at the moment. Incredibly fast. That's Nico Romero. Again, Romero knows this car very well. He's driven the Genesis for a while now, and he knows he's got to go hard and go early. He's now the gap down to 2.2 seconds.
Oh, that's a bit wide there on the medium tyres. That's going to allow Ferrari to go through surely, or at least try and attack in towards the bus stop chicane. That's for 8th position. No, they managed to live to fight another day. I just wanted to say on a quick point as well, looking back at the former Manufacturers' Cup champions, Nissan won it last year, Subaru the year before that, Toyota have won it twice, Subaru have won it twice, Lexus have won it once, Subaru have won it twice, Lexus have won it once. We've never had a non-Japanese manufacturer Cup champion. We could be set for that here tonight. This is the moment then between Ferrari and Mazda for 8th place. We ride on board with Mazda, that rotary Wankel engine, screaming its way up to the gearbox, and they go for that aggressive move on the outside into Blanchimont, pinches the Ferrari and manages to get themselves up into 8th place. I thought it was a mistake from Mazda, but it was actually a very aggressive overtake, and look at that now, down to 1.2 seconds, the gap between Lexus and Genesis, and it's bringing a train of cars along with it as well. AMG, Chevrolet, Subaru and even Toyota not far adrift of this one, and we've got 3.5 laps remaining. There is still time for the complexion of this race to change. Just to remind you, if the checkered flag fell now, Lexus would be crowned as Manufacturers' Cup champions of 2024 by just 1 point over Team BMW. Genesis have currently got 19 points, so we need to do the mental arithmetic. If they go and win the race, is that going to be enough for them to be crowned as the champions here, if BMW and Lexus finish in 2nd and 3rd respectively?
Oh man, I mean, that you can now feel that Nico Romero and Dean Howe are like, okay, this is our chance, we can do it. And look at him, maybe a little bit of a smile there on the face of Nico. He knows he's got pace, but he's not there yet. The gap down to 1.7 seconds. Look who's behind though, it's Benelli, and he is fast. The Brazilian driver from Mercedes AMG is latched onto the back of Team Genesis, and this is a guy you don't want in your mirrors. Extremely quick driver is Benelli, and it feels like the whole field's just sort of come back together a bit at the end of the race as the dry running has maybe changed the dynamics of the car slightly. It's going to be a mad finish, this one.
Yeah. Hold on to your hats then and stand by your beds, because it is going to be a cracker here for the grand final of the Manufacturers' Cup. Under the brakes we go, in towards the bus stop chicane. Genesis holding firm in third place for now, but I mentioned that train of cars that's coming through. They are all going to be nose to tail in just a lap or so's time, I'm sure of it. Over the timeline we go. BMW and Callum Roach 0.3 of a second in front of Harold Valson in the Lexus. Genesis, meanwhile, last time around they were over half a second faster than leaders BMW. Likewise, Lucas Benelli was in turn half a second faster than the Genesis. So Benelli and AMG, as Jimmy said, on an absolute charge at the moment, and it's anybody's guess as to who is going to claim victory in the grand final here tonight, but who, of course, is going to claim the overall crown here as well.
Harold Valson at the wheel of Team Lexus. Super Sub, of course, coming in for Igor Franda, who can't be here for this final. What a performance he's put in there, the Chilean driver. Lexus are within reach of yet another Manufacturers' Cup title. All they've got to do is stay where they are. They stay where they are and they win. But look who's behind them. Team Genesis and Nico Romero. Lucas Benelli as well for Mercedes AMG. It's not going to be just simply drive to the end. It's going to be watch your mirrors and try and keep that place. If they do lose that place to Team Genesis, BMW will be the Manufacturers' Cup champions. So still all to play for with only 2.5 laps left.
I'm hugely excited to see how this one is going to work out. Tell you what, Benelli's challenge has just faltered a little bit on this lap. He must have made a mistake, the Brazilian driver, because he was right on the coattails of Romero a few corners ago, and now he's 1.1 seconds adrift of the Spaniard.
Here we are.
Subaru and Chevrolet is not far adrift of them either.
It will take one little mistake and that whole field compresses. I'm telling you now.
So through into the finish game we go. Team radio. No more talking, I know what to do. That's going to be Callum Roach, hasn't it? That has to be the voice of the American driver. Just let him get on with it. Let him deal with the job at hand. There are the live points rankings. If the checkered flag fell now. But there are faster drivers behind the BMW of the Lexus, the Genesis and the AMG.
Well, there's nothing that really Callum Roach can do right now. He is the best he can be, which is be in the lead. It's up to what happens behind him, which will dictate who wins today, who wins the Manufacturers' Cup, the grand final, the decider for the season. And we only have 2 laps left here to go at Spa. Genesis, they seem to be stuck in that 1.5 second range, or Lexus have got that little bit closer to BMW in front. Do you attack if you're Team Lexus? I mean, if you finish where you are, you're champions.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. Do you play it safe? There's no point throwing it up the inside, sending them both off the track potentially, and taking that risk. But the problem is, you can see that Genesis and AMG are still lurking there in the background. The problem is they're running out of time. We've got 2 laps now remaining.
He's going to have the draft up here, so there might be an opportunity. BMW need to win this. They have to win, so I think Callum Roach will be defensive here. But Paul there, through Rouge and Radion for Team Lexus. Look, Team Genesis now are in the draft, only a second behind. Meanwhile, Subaru and Mercedes AMG go side by side. That is Takuma Miyazono versus Lucas Benelli. Will Miyazono try the outside line? There's contact between the two. Oh, and they both go off.
Oh, well, Benelli did not want to give that one. Chevrolet going spinning round up at Lake Comas. Well, that's a disaster for the American manufacturer. They were having such a strong race. Mercedes AMG pick up a penalty and they're under investigation. Well, the thing is, you've got to give racing room to the car on the outside. And to my money, Miyazono wasn't given that. It cost them both time, and it's cost them potentially both the chance of victory. So maybe a 5-way squabble has been now reduced down to a 3-way squabble, has been now reduced down to a 3-way squabble. And you can see there that Lexus are now dropping off the back of BMW. Let's have another look.
This was almost comedic timing from the Corvette. What happened here? So there was contact there, and the same thing happened behind. True, the same thing between Toyota and Chevrolet. And just like that, 4 manufacturers are pretty much out. Toyota given a 3-second penalty, and rightly so. Look at this. Look how close Genesis are now, and Nico Romero. He's within striking distance, and this could have massive ramifications for the championship standings here if Romero can just get by Lexus.
So it could be winner takes all stakes between these top 2. A little bit wide there for Lexus on Savilo 2. Yeah, they know that they've got to throw caution to the wind here, Genesis, haven't
wins the series overall. It does seem like that challenge has somewhat faltered, and Lexus there and Harold Volson just not quite able to get any closer to BMW and Callum Roach, but he might not need to as we come on to the last lap of the season for the Manufacturers' Cup here at Spa. BMW lead Lexus, who lead Genesis. If things finish now, Lexus will be your Manufacturers' Cup champions, but they're still one lap off one of the most difficult circuits in the world, Spa-Francorchamps. Can BMW keep Lexus behind, and can Lexus hold on to that Manufacturers' Cup win? Let's find out.
2-second penalty there for Mercedes with Benelli, that incident there for the collision on the last lap. No surprise there at all, but I tell you what, Lexus, they're out of slipstreaming range for BMW. 1.3 seconds. They're not going to get the advantage of the toe here up the Kemmel Straight, and you can see what that would mean, because Lexus would still win it by 1 point. They're going to have the middle sector of their lives as Mazda look for a lunge on the inside of Subaru down into Lake Coombe. Nothing doing for them at the moment. The seas will open though soon, because Benelli with that 2-second penalty will mean that Subaru and Mazda will elevate themselves up to 4th and 5th place here respectively too.
Will that change though the position for Genesis? For Genesis, because Subaru would be tied with points if they move up.
Yeah, there's good potential for that one. We'll wait and see how it works out. Through the left hand we go. The final sector of the lap awaits. Yeah, so that's Genesis. Genesis there saying that they're going to have to settle for P3. Let's have a look at this battle though between 5th and 6th place, because this could decide whether Genesis do finish P3 once this penalty has been served for Mercedes AMG. Mazda having a look to the inside, nothing doing for them here in towards the Fagnes chicane, and the penalty is about to be served here for Lucas Benelli and the Mercedes as they come out of Stavolo.
Yeah, interestingly, whichever of these cars finish ahead of each other will be 4th in the final rankings. They're all tied on 17 points in the finish now. AMG will go behind Subaru and Mazda, serving this penalty. A good chance from Benelli, but unfortunately too little too late. So there goes Miyazono up into P4. There goes Mazda up into P5. So Subaru now tie with Genesis, as do Mazda for 3rd place. Look at that.
Three-way tie and just a couple of corners now remaining. Mazda having a look to the inside here with Subaru, but into the final corner we go with Team BMW. They're going to win the grand final of the Manufacturers' Cup here as they take the checkered flag at Spa-Francorchamps, but across the line will come Team Lexus to win the Manufacturers' Cup by 1 point in 2024. Genesis take 3rd, Subaru take 4th on the road. It's a three-way tie for 3rd in the overall standings as well. What a season, what a race, what a drive for BMW. They take top honours in the final race of the season, but it's Harold Velson, Koke Lopez, Kanata Kawakami and also Igor Fraga who will be crowned as the 2024 Manufacturers' Cup champions.
Something that I just worked out there, that basically Genesis were gifted 3rd by 0.0072 of a second, because if Mazda had passed Subaru, they would have been on that 3rd place on the podium. That's how close it was for that last step. But as you say, Tom, it's Team Lexus there, 2nd place, enough to secure them yet another Manufacturers' Cup Series win. I mean, how do you stop these guys?
Absolutely amazing.